Sergeant, when you started the search warrant yesterday morning, it was a big step in a long-term investigation you've done. Talk about kind of how it got started and what led you to yesterday.
Sure. Over the last couple of days, we have began to conclude a long-term investigation into what really is the theft of scrap metal. It has involved several criminal offenses, breaking and entering, trespassing, theft, but the focus of this investigation really has been the unlawful entry of abandoned buildings, vacant buildings, both in the city of Moraine and really all over Montgomery County, with these thieves targeting electrical wire, copper. The investigation led us to 2801 Coronet Avenue in Harrison Township yesterday, where we did serve that search warrant.
And I understand most of these buildings, you say they were abandoned, they were hit by the Memorial Day tornadoes. What were some of the businesses and I guess you said electrical wiring, what exactly were they stealing and how were they profiting from it?
Sure. Obviously, we're in the city of Moraine. It is our investigation. So it began, or we became involved when we knew these thieves were targeting some of the abandoned buildings in Moraine. Specifically those buildings that are part of the former General Motors truck and bus property, specifically at 3501 Springboro Pike. That is considered by us to be what's called the compressor house. That's a building on the former General Motors property that's now managed by IRG that houses the bulk of the electrical components for what was General Motors. And that building contains an immense amount of electrical equipment. And these thieves were targeting, when we became involved, they were targeting that electrical equipment, specifically the copper conductors that run from the distribution boxes out to the various buildings that were once the General Motors truck and bus plant, and all of the copper busing bars that helped control the electrical current, that massive amount of electrical current that was needed to run that plant. So they were targeting that specifically, and we were able to identify some of those individuals involved through forensics. When we investigated the breaking and entering of that building, the multiple breaking and enterings of that building, and then we were able to track some of that property, those electrical components, the copper wire, the copper busing bars, to various recycling centers in Montgomery County.
And then as you got into it more, you realized they'd been also hitting buildings in other areas?
Absolutely. We did our own surveillance where we followed some of these individuals to abandoned buildings in Riverside, in and around Northridge in Harrison Township. Our investigation revealed that they were targeting some of the buildings that were affected by those Memorial Day tornadoes. The former Dayton Hotel there on Wagner Ford, some of the abandoned schools in and around Northridge, where they were basically profiting and further destroying these properties by scrapping the electrical components, generally electrical components from those buildings.
So they're making it worse. I mean, they're making it worse, and plus they're taking advantage of people, that making it almost impossible for them, if they ever was thought, to rehabilitate these buildings.
Absolutely. We know specifically from those buildings here in Moraine, they have caused hundreds of thousands, if not in the millions of dollars worth of damage to these buildings, these buildings aren't just sitting there empty. We have investment groups, realty groups who own these properties or are managing these properties and trying to either sell them or rehabilitate them so they can be sold or reused. And the fact, the difference in this case is not that that we know these guys are out taking scrap metal from the side of the road. Okay, these individuals are going into these buildings and they are stripping the electrical components that are installed and needed to operate these buildings. And what's happening is when they take these electrical components, the whole building has to be rewired, basically.
So are they facing charges? You mentioned Riverside, Northridge, Dayton. Are they facing charges in those jurisdictions as well?
It is our goal to charge them for everything that we know they've done. Over the last 2 days, we have effected 2 arrests and charged 2 people that are part of what we know is a larger ring of individuals who are working as, in our opinion, a criminal organization to ravage these buildings throughout Montgomery County. So we've charged Justin Cleaver and Donald Leith. They are both in the Montgomery County Jail, charged with a portion of this offense. We fully intend to seek additional charges as the judicial process plays itself out. And we hope to charge others. Right now they aren't charged, but our investigation, as we conclude it would hope to charge others.
You think as many as a dozen people involved, or close to that many?
We've identified upwards of a dozen people as being involved with this organization, and as being involved with the theft and the sale of this scrap metal.
Any idea a dollar value of how much they have gotten from scrapping this metal too? You said different recycling and.
We know that these recycling centers, they charge a $1 per pound amount for scrap metal, specifically copper, anywhere from, it fluctuates, but $1.50 to $2 a pound for copper. We have information that we've obtained from these recycling centers where we know some of these individuals have sold upwards of 1,000 or more pounds of copper at a time, receiving thousands of dollars in a single transaction.
If citizens happen to know of anyone who may be talking about doing this kind of mischievous work, who should they contact?
Well, they need to contact their local police agency. I'm not going to say that all persons who deal with scrap metal are criminals, but when it involves the trespassing and breaking into buildings, the forcible theft of specifically electrical components from buildings, that's not legal, and they need to report that.
Sergeant, would you talk about how dangerous this is for them to be able to do this kind of work as well?
Sure. Well, we have firsthand knowledge as part of our investigation that individuals that we believe are part of this organization have, when removing some of this copper, these electrical components, have gotten into live circuits, have caused massive surges of power, have interrupted the legitimate business of companies in the city of Moraine with these power outages. And it's very dangerous. There's cases that have been investigated where persons have died from electrocution, from getting into live electrical components, trying to steal this copper wiring. So it's very dangerous.
Is there a phone number that individuals can call for a tip line for, again, if they know or see anybody doing this kind of activity?
Well, I would encourage anybody, they can always notify Crime Stoppers if they have information about these type of criminal activities. If they know of the activity happening in Moraine, I would strongly suggest they call our police department, 937-535-1166, to report that, specifically to Moraine. But if it's occurring elsewhere in Montgomery County, I would strongly urge them to contact Crime Stoppers.
How did you, was the first time just that you noticed someone in a building once yourself, or you got calls about someone being in a building? How did, it sounds like it's been several months you've been working on this.
Well, we as the police, we are not victims in this. So we have, again, property owners, we have property managers who are responsible for these buildings, who are experiencing serious financial loss as a result of the actions of these people. So they reported it to us, and then obviously we began to investigate, which ultimately led us to this criminal organization.
Did you seize the items found at that house on Cornett, or how much of that material did you seize, or did you just kind of make the arrests?
Well, arrests had been made prior to the execution of that warrant.
Okay.
But we recovered evidence in more than one of our known crimes here in Moraine. The insulation, wire wrappings, things that were easily identifiable, because we were talking about electrical components that are unique to a very large building or a large property like General Motors was, easily identifiable. We found some of those items at the house on Cornet, in addition to evidence that we knew came from other places as well.
Sergeant, can you give any idea of what time of hours were they doing these crimes?
We know it to be all times of the day. Late at night and under the cover of dark, but our surveillance and our investigation showed us that they would go into some of these buildings in broad daylight.
Any idea how many buildings they hit?
We know of, I'm just going to say, multiple properties in Moraine and throughout the county. Again, we're still trying to conclude some of the investigation, and we want to charge others. So I won't comment as to exactly where, how many buildings throughout the county.
Fair to say you're working with several other police agencies?
We are. We utilized Range Task Force, the Tactical Crime Suppression Unit. Their agents helped us out with the search warrants yesterday and with some surveillance of this organization.
Approximately how many jurisdictions are you looking at crimes being committed in?
Well, we've got Moraine. We believe there's crimes that have occurred in Riverside. We believe that there's crimes that have occurred in Northridge and Harrison Township. And at the end of the day, when we process a lot of this information, it could be more.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Sergeant.
Justin Cleaver, can you give me a spelling of his name?
Clever.
Like Beaver.
Justin Cleaver, yes.
Age?
He's approximately 30 years old.
Do you know where he's from?
He is from the Troy, Ohio area.
Okay.
Have they been arraigned yet?
No, they've not.
Lee was arrested yesterday?
Yeah, he's in.
Or
They were both arrested on the 20th.
on the 20th, okay. Because I knew he was in yesterday, but, and you believe he's the owner of the house on Cornet? Mr. Lee?
We know he's associated with the house. That's really all I can say at this
Okay.
time. Yes.
Cleve is the one who's associated?
No, Lee.
Lee.
They both are. They're both associated.
Yeah, they both have associations to it, but we believe Leith
Who maybe lived there or something, or?
used it as a residence. Yeah, correct.
How long has the investigation been going on?
We've been investigating since June of this year.
But we've been able to track it back till 2018.
Yeah, there's crimes that have gone back to 2018. Yes.
Sorry, ma'am.
And do you have an approximate number of properties that you know are linked to tornado damage?
I mean, I really don't. We believe there's several properties in the Northridge area that they have targeted.
That are tornado
Correct.
damage related?
Correct.
Okay.